Charles Ponzi, a name that echoes through history as one of the most infamous con men of all time. A man who captivated the world with his charm only to leave them with empty pockets. But who was he really? How did he manage to deceive so many people for so long? The answers lie buried beneath layers of mystery and deceit, waiting to be uncovered. Join us as we peel back the veil and delve into the dark world of Ponzi and his infamous scheme. A story shrouded in secrets, whispers, and intrigue. Born in Parma, Italy in 1882, Charles Ponzi was a man of humble beginnings. He arrived in the United States in 1903 with nothing but a dream and a few dollars in his pocket. Starting with odd jobs and menial work, Ponzi soon discovered his true talent: deception. Legend has it that Ponzi's first scam involved selling fly paper made of plain paper, which he claimed could trap flies. It was a brilliant idea until customers realized they had been swindled and demanded their money back. Undeterred, Ponzi continued to hone his skills, using his quick wit and charming personality to manipulate those around him. In fact, some even say that Ponzi's talent for deception was evident from a young age. As a child, he reportedly convinced his friends to give him their toys, promising to trade them for bigger and better ones, a promise he never kept. But despite his early antics, it was Ponzi's arrival in the United States that marked the beginning of his rise to infamy. Using his charm and persuasive skills, he quickly gained a reputation as a smooth talker and a man with big ideas. And it wasn't long before he put those skills to work on his biggest and most audacious scheme yet, the infamous Ponzi scheme. You see, it all started with a seemingly innocuous idea: exploiting international reply coupons. To put it simply, Ponzi claimed he could buy these coupons in other countries at a discount, then exchange them for a profit in the United States. In short, known as arbitrage. At first, the scheme seemed to be working. Investors poured in their money, lured by the promise of high returns on their investments. But as the scheme grew, Ponzi's tactics became more and more suspect. He stopped buying actual coupons and instead used the money from new investors to pay off older ones. It was a classic case of robbing Peter to pay Paul, and Ponzi was the one raking in the profits. But here's where things get even more interesting. Despite the fact that the scheme was clearly unsustainable, Ponzi continued to attract new investors at an astonishing rate. How, you ask? Well, it turns out that Ponzi was a master of marketing. He hired an army of salespeople to promote his scheme, offering them generous commissions for each new investor they brought in. And it wasn't just ordinary people. Even prominent members of society fell for his charm and invested their money in the scheme. As the empire grew, Ponzi became something of a celebrity, attending lavish parties and rubbing shoulders with the rich and powerful. But behind the scenes, the scheme was teetering on the brink of collapse. Eventually, the truth came out. Ponzi's scheme was nothing but a house of cards built on deception and lies. The downfall of Charles Ponzi was just as intriguing as the scheme itself. You see, when investigative journalists began to question the validity of Ponzi's claims, they found there was no way he could possibly be making the returns he promised to investors. Soon, government regulators caught wind of the scheme as well. They launched an investigation and uncovered Ponzi's fraudulent activities. But despite all of this, some investors remained loyal to Ponzi, even as their investments began to evaporate into thin air. As you might imagine, things got pretty heated. Angry investors demanded their money back, and Ponzi was forced to file for bankruptcy. Legal battles ensued, and Ponzi found himself in court time and time again. At last, it was all for naught. Ponzi was eventually found guilty of multiple counts of fraud and sentenced to prison. But even then, the saga wasn't over. Ponzi continued to scheme and scam from behind bars, even managing to con some fellow inmates out of their money. In the end, though, justice prevailed. Ponzi spent several years in prison before eventually being deported back to his home country of Italy. This infamous Ponzi scheme not only caused financial ruin for many investors, but also left a lasting impact on the public's perception of investment schemes. Ponzi's legacy has been immortalized in popular culture, with countless movies and TV shows depicting his story of deception and greed. Even now, almost a century after the scheme's collapse, his name remains synonymous with fraud and the dangers of chasing after easy money.